Good afternoon. Brad Doan, Bad to the Bone Outdoors. I'm currently camping and fishing with some friends on Loud Pond in northern Michigan, and I'm going to show you how to fillet a pike and take the Y bones out. I would do it myself, but my arthritis is acting up. And so I'm going to have my good friend Keith Brooks from Coleman, Michigan, explain how to fillet a pike and take the Y bones out.
How you doing? How you doing, Brad?
Away. I'm doing good. How are you?
Well, the first thing I'm going to do is take the cheeks off this pike. Usually on a bigger pike you can get a fairly good chunk of meat. Not quite as big as a walleye, and you have to skin the meat off of the skin on a pike, but I still take them. No waste. So I peel the cheek out like that, and then I just slice it. I got to skin it off of the skin, like so. And there's one cheek off a pike. Now I'll take the other side. Big teeth in the way. Gotta watch out for those. Sharp on a pike. Alright, there's the other cheek. Now we'll skin that off the skin. So we got a little chunk of meat. On a walleye, it just peels right off. On a pike, you got to skin it off the skin. Sticks more. So now with a northern pike, you don't have, the only dorsal fin you got is this. You don't have like all the spines on a walleye in the dorsal fin. So there's no really fin to follow there. I make a cut on top, just through the skin and into the meat. And then I turn the fish a little bit sideways, and you can actually see down in this crack, you can see where the spine comes together. So I just put my knife and I go right along the spine. There's no fin to follow, but you can follow the bones, the spine, and you just follow along like that till you get down to the dorsal fin that's there. Just follow the spine, and then you get to the dorsal fin there, and then we'll just we'll start cutting the fillet off now. And what I like to do here is poke down towards the anal fin, poke through, and then you can go right down to the tail and fillet that part off like so. Then what we're going to do is we're going to come down here and we're going to follow the ribs down. Cutting through the Y bones, so the Y bones are still in the fillet, and we take the ribs off.
All right.
And then we just follow right down along the ribs, and we're going to peel all that meat right off. So there's one fillet. Cut that off like so. And now if you notice, you can see the Y bones.
Get my shadow out of here.
There's a little white line of bones right there. You can feel them. Those are what I'll be taking out, but I'm going to take off. Oh, this one's got something in his gullet, boys. Let's see what we got. Feels like it might be a bluegill.
Oh, look at that.
Look at there. Yeah, looks like a rock bass. Half digested.
Are we going to cook that up too?
No. That looks like a rock bass to me. We'll just put that down to the side.
We'll set that aside.
Set that aside. So now you do the same thing on the other side of the spine, because there's no fin to follow, so you got to follow the spine. So then I'll go ahead and flip this one over.
How long have you been filleting pike?
I learned this trick up in Canada on a fly-in fishing trip with my dad and brother Jeff. And I took a magazine article with me up there from Field and Stream, or one of those outdoor magazines, and I just practiced. We had lots of pike to practice on up in Canada on a fly-in trip. So once you learn the bone structure of the pike and the Y bones, you really don't forget the bone structure, and you really don't forget how to do this.
That took me 14 friggin' recasts.
So here we're going down along the ribs again. You can see that. Got a little bit of a bones bones there, ribs, get those out of there. And then we just cut down like so. And there's the other fillet. We'll take that off. Now that the fillets are off, so that's just like filleting any other fish. You just take both fillets off. We'll dump him on the ground for now. And again, the Y bones, you can see them right there. See that? You can feel them, rub your finger along them. And what these bones do is they run straight down, and then they run on a 45 up this way towards the top of the fillet.
Okay.
So the first cut I'm going to make is on top of those bones. And you can only go about halfway through the fillet, and then you hit the bones that are going up towards the spine.
So you just go about halfway through.
Yep, you can feel, listen. Hear the bones?
Yep.
Yep, that'll show up on video. So your first cut is on the upside, and you cut down to the bones, but do it gently so you don't cut through the bones. So that's your first cut.
Okay.
Now I turn my knife on a 45 like this, and I trim along those bones that run up towards the top of the spine. You can see them right there. Hear them and see them.
Get my shadow out of the way there. All right.
They run up towards the top of the fillet. Like so. So you make that 45, and then your next cut, you go right on the midline. You can see the midline of the fish right here. You want to go about halfway through the fillet. A third to about a halfway through the fillet, and you trim right down to your other cut here about that far. And you're only going about halfway through the fillet.
Okay.
So you see the bones here. Hear them? They run right along there.
Yeah.
So on this second cut, I take my knife on a 45 and I go underneath the bones. You can actually see my knife blade underneath the bones. And you trim underneath the line of bones, like so.
Okay.
All the way along. Just like so. Now, we're removing the entire piece that has every bone in this pike fillet right now. There is another method to take bones out of a pike, and then some people have heard of it. It's a 5, you end up with 5 pieces of fish, but I don't like that method because it's more waste. So I do the full fillet. So there is every bone in that pike fillet right there.
Those are all the Y bones.
Those are all the Y bones. So then you flip the top of the loin back over, like so, totally boneless pike, and you'll end up with a full fillet of pike, totally boneless. So right now I'm just skinning it. I go down about that far, I take my knife and I make a thumb hole through the skin. That way you can stick your thumb through it, and you can pull back on the skin as you slide your knife along the skin to skin this pike fillet. Voila.
And your finished product is a
Totally boneless fillet of pike right there.
boneless, skinless.
Boneless, skinless fillet of pike. Yep.
Very good. Then obviously you just do the same one to the other
Yeah,
side.
do the same thing to this side. Follow the same procedure. First cut on top of the bones. About halfway through until you feel the bones. You can actually feel them with your knife. You don't want to put too much pressure on. You want to do this with a pretty sharp knife. And then you trim right along those bones on a 45 in your first cut there.
I didn't care for the braided. And so I just had the Berkeley
And again, see all the bones? You can hear them.
on these.
Run your knife right along there.
Yeah.
Then come back on the midline of the fillet. About halfway through the fillet, you trim right on the midline, so you've got a guide there.
Yep.
You stick your knife through that second cut, and you look, you can see my knife underneath those bones going on a 45. It goes right underneath that line of bones. Sorry, I'm in the shadow now. But you trim right underneath those bones like so, all the way along, and then you just kind of work that piece out. It's got bones in it, you can hear them. Sometimes you have to trim a little bit more up top, towards the top of the fillet.
Yeah.
Yellow jacket coming for a bite. You can just peel that out, work it out, just trim a little bit. Making sure all the bones are coming out with that piece. And you get down here, and we'll take care of that yellow jacket if he hangs around. There's another boneless fillet of pike there. And I'll go ahead and skin this one too for you.
All right.
Go about that far, take your knife, cut a thumb hole through the skin, pull backwards with your thumb, as you work your knife along the skin of the pike. Again, sharp knives make this a lot easier. And again, there is another full boneless fillet of pike, just like so.
All right.
So
Very good.
that's my story for today, and hope you enjoy it, and I'll turn it back over to Brad.
All right. That's all I've got. We just want to
Got the yellow jacket.
filleted pike video. Oh, we're going to cook him up too, probably. All right. Brad Doan, Bad to the Bone Outdoors. Please press like and subscribe. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you learned from it.
What happened to that?
Till next time.
What happened to that?